Hey everyone, I am going to read from my memoir, Who Has Known Heights. My name is Weston Grove. It's hot today. I turned the air conditioning off so that you wouldn't hear it in the background. Who Has Known Heights is a bildungsroman, and that is a coming-of-age story. It is a trilogy, and I am going to read from the middle installment. The main character is obviously myself, and another key character is Ren. I am also older than I look. Appearances are deceiving. We'll get to that. Who Has Known Heights? Others believed, or at the very least thought, and often told me, I possessed a delicate disposition. It wasn't so. Isn't so. I am quite sensitive, physiologically, and in an emotional sense. But it is not fragility that courses through my blood. Not much phases me in respect to society at large. What I've always possessed, however, is a genteel quality. I believe in discretion, a certain time and place for expression, decency, proper, respectable dress, punctuality. I'm acutely light-sensitive, and loud noises not only bother my ears, they anger me. Particularly loud noises that are entirely avoidable. For example, someone who just lets a heavy door slam shut, or a shopping cart collector who slams the carts together, pushes them across the asphalt, clattering and roaring, as if demanding attention. I hate when customers pull a cart from the line. Instead of grabbing the metal wire panel and stopping it from clanging, they just let it bang shut. Worst, bussers at restaurants who confuse efficiency for going hand in hand with being louder. Dishes piled into tubs, utensils pinging, glasses clanking. I prefer the quietness of an Indian, to silently appear rather than announce myself. Too much noise, obnoxious noise, self-made noise, drowns out the details of the day. I need to hear the wind, the tick of the clock, the sound of my throat as I swallow. Others saw a rail of a young man, who presumably would topple over at the least bit of thunderous wind howling through. What they could not see, what they could not know, was that I was anchored. A rod ran the length of me, a staff of relentless, tenacious willpower. I might double over, and I did, but like a tent pole that can be pulled apart and folded into a bundle, then opened back up and inserted one into the other to form a sturdy pole. The core inside never snapped completely. My being was tested, pulled taut, battered in a relentless downpour of grief. I could not come in from the rain. I would still hear it coming down on the roof. I would know it was just outside. I could not pretend. Pretending was just a polite euphemism for lying to oneself. For a long time I remained staked, resolute, firm, unyielding. The greater the obstacle, the more I dug in. Nothing was impossible, I knew, except if you were dead. Even so, I grew weary at times. I knew pain was useless. It came just the same. I knew being sad solved nothing. Sometimes the sadness wanted to stay. I would get to thinking, who wants to marry a man who is content to die tomorrow? Not morbidly so. I didn't drag myself around. But if I were to go the next day, I'd have been all right to say adios. Since the likelihood of this was relatively unlikely, I realized I could never fully be myself with anyone. I would always have to hide the private torment, the sensitivity, the source of pain. This emotional loneliness is what bothered me, had always concerned me. I could be in a room full of people. It didn't assuage the sense of isolation. The detachment was inside. The mingling bodies had an ionic effect on my physical body. The energy was good for it. but it also magnified the internalized emptiness, the realization that in this room, whatever crowd happened to be occupying it, I did not belong. I did not want to belong to these people, to groups, to crowds. I just needed one, yes, a single individual whom I recognized emotionally, with whom I could engage and fall in love, and who would love me, in turn, unconditionally. It seems so simple, almost cliché, trite, but there was nothing easy about it. People no longer look at each other. All the empty smiles, conversations with angles. I felt the room narrowing, being stretched and pulled taut to a point. And on the farthest apex, the point was myself. Like a slingshot, I wanted the point to be released, and for me to be belted through the passageway girded by faceless, countless individuals. I wanted to be shot out the other side, where my own kind could be found. And let me be very clear when I say my own kind. I am referring to those Robert Kincaids, a reference to the bridges of Madison County. John Muirs, peregrines of heart who understand what it is to be displaced, born in the wrong time, and insatiable yet quiet aching for yesterday's twilight. Others who know what it is to travel down the centuries and to desire nothing greater than the return to one's origin. People talk about their jobs, the clothes they buy, their bank accounts, salary, sex life. I wanted no part in it. I wanted a private conversation with just one woman, and I wanted that conversation to never end, but to last me, to walk with me, to the end of my life. I had that with Ren. Without it, it would be as good as dead. Without it, I would be as good as dead. My life would be defined in terms of absence, what was missing, rather than in fullness and brimming satisfaction. Another excerpt from Who Has Known Heights goes like this. I lived in the most perilous zone between waking and night, the shadowlands of watching and waiting, questioning and listening. I lived in the glade of remembrance. The title of Who Has Known Heights is derived from a poem by Mary Brent Whiteside, a beautiful poem. And I will read that. This is by Mary Brent Whiteside, this poem. Who has known heights and depths shall not again know peace, not as the calm heart knows, low, ivied walls, a garden close. And though he tread the humble ways of men, he shall not speak the common tongue again. Who has known heights shall bear forevermore an incommunicable thing that hurts his heart, as if a wing beat at the portal, challenging. And yes, lured by the gleam his vision wore, who once has trodden stars, seeks peace no more. Signing off.